You know, there's an old saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Most people hear that and they just nod. It's one of those sayings we repeat without really thinking about it. I don't think that anymore because life forced me to understand what it actually means. One of the strangest things that happened to me while I was trying to survive wasn't trying to learn how to sleep outside. It wasn't living in the woods. It wasn't figuring out where my next meal was going to come from. It was learning how to value and see how much value people throw away. I'm not talking about just dumpsters. I'm talking about on the side of the road. Apartment complexes, storage units, foreclosures, evictions, just bulk pickup day. You get to see how much garbage you can find. Entire households are being tossed away to the streets. Entire lives, all the memories, just sitting there, waiting for a truck. At first, I wasn't looking for lessons. I was looking for a way to survive. When nobody is hiring you and you're trying to make ends meet, you start looking at the world very differently. You become resourceful. You pay attention. You stop seeing garbage and start seeing possibilities. A bicycle isn't just garbage. It's transportation. A shelf isn't garbage. It's storage. A piece of plywood isn't garbage. It's part of a wall you could build or make a roof out of. You know? Create something part of a shelter. I remember finding enough materials to build an entire camp in the woods. Not just a basic tent. A real setup. I had a clean kitchen. I had storage. I had a pantry. I had a bathroom. I had a place to cook that was clean. I had running water I got myself by boiling and doing all this kind of stuff. I had solar panels. I had nice places so I could put my dogs. It wasn't a house, but it was mine, and I built it with my own hands. And the crazy thing is that a lot of it came from things other people threw away. Not because I wanted to live that way, but because I adapted. Because human beings adapt. And honestly, some of the most resourceful people I've ever met were homeless. People think homelessness means doing nothing. I saw the exact opposite. I saw builders. I saw repairers. I saw problem solvers. People creating something out of almost nothing. People surviving through creativity. Necessity makes you see the world from a completely different point of view. Then there was the food. So much food. Honestly, before all of this, I had no idea how much food gets thrown away. And I'm not talking about rotten food. I'm talking about perfectly good food. People, this food could feed people. Food that could feed families. Food that often ended up discarded because of dates, labels, policies, appearances, or convenience. I remember standing there looking at some of it and thinking, how is this possible? How there can be enough people are struggling to eat while this much food is being thrown away? I don't say this with anger. I actually say it with curiosity. Because it made me realize that abundance and suffering can exist in the same place. Sometimes in the same street. Sometimes just a few hundred feet apart. And that's when I started understanding that this wasn't really a story about trash. It was a story about value. Because the more I looked around, the more I realized that we don't just throw away objects. We throw away food, we throw away opportunities, and sometimes we throw away people. One thing most people never see is what happens after eviction. Not the court case, not the paperwork, the curb, the pile, the remains of somebody's life sitting outside. Furniture, photographs, children's toys, tools, books. In general, the memories of a whole lifetime. Everything reduced to a pile, waiting for strangers and garbage trucks. I have seen it more than once. And every time it stayed with me. Because those piles aren't garbage. They are evidence that somebody lived there. Somebody laughed there. Somebody loved there. Somebody struggled there. Raised children there. Somebody had dreams there. And now, everything they owned is just sitting on the side of the road. And the more I saw those piles, the more I started thinking about people. Because people get discarded too. Not just furniture. Not just possessions. People. Veterans. Workers. Mothers. Fathers. People recovering from addiction. People struggling with trauma. People carrying burdens nobody can see. People who are overwhelmed by life. And what struck me was how many of them still had value. And how many of them still had skills, knowledge, talent, experience, wisdom, potential to do anything they want to do if having the right opportunity. The value never disappeared. Sometimes people simply stop seeing it. And maybe that's why this topic hits me so deeply. Because I know what it feels like to be judged by a difficult chapter instead of an entire story. I know what it feels like to have doors closed. I know what it feels like to keep trying anyways. And that is one of the reasons I started writing. One of the reasons I pursued journalism. And one of the reasons I created Expose the Silence. Not because I have all the answers, but because I kept meeting people whose stories nobody was telling. People who mattered. People who deserved to be seen. People who deserve more than a label. The funny thing is, I went into the woods believing I had lost everything. But the woods gave me things I didn't know I was missing. It gave me a perspective. It gave me patience. It gave me gratitude. It brought me humility. I learned self-respect. Not respect. Respect for everyone, not just for people, but also for animals and for nature, for life itself. I learned to pay attention to things I never noticed before. I saw the birds, the squirrels, the owls, the raccoons, the rhythms of nature, just the small, simple things in life. And I learned something very important. Connection is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Maybe that's why the animals meant so much. Takeo, Babushka, my baby Kira, Pluto, my bearded dragon. May I see you again. Apollo, my ball python, Umbra, my leopard gecko, and Leopard, my baby turtle. Every one of them taught me something. Responsibility, compassion, patience, loyalty. And every one of them reminded me that healing often begins when we care about something beyond ourselves. That's one of the reasons animals will always be part of Spiritus Invictus. Not as an afterthought, as part of the healing process. Because I believe people recover better when they have a connection, when they have a purpose, when they have a community, a responsibility, when they have love. And that's what Spiritus Invictus is about. Not charity, not handouts, not rescuing people. Recognizing value. Value in people. Value in animals. The value in a community. Value in a second chance. People ask me why I keep doing this. Why I keep pushing forward. Why I keep writing. Why I keep trying to build something when I'm still rebuilding myself. And the answer is simple. I have a dream. And I want to promote change. Because once you've seen the things, you can't unsee what you've seen. Once you've met enough people, once you've heard enough stories, once you've witnessed enough suffering, you have a choice. You can look away, or you can try to do something about it. I have chosen to try, not alone, because this isn't something one person builds. It takes a community. It takes volunteers. It takes mentors. It takes teachers. It takes people willing to believe that dignity matters, that second chances matter, that value doesn't disappear because somebody stops seeing it. So, if you have ever felt overlooked, if you have ever struggled, if you've ever been judged by your worst chapter, if you have ever wanted to make a difference but didn't know where to begin, maybe this mission speaks to you too. Because the greatest treasures are often the things people overlook. And sometimes the greatest treasure is a human being who simply needs somebody willing to see their value. The sunrise still comes. Let's build something worthy of it. Blessed be.